Hi folks, I just thought I'd do this little video because it seems to be the case that this week seems to be the week of long-held mistruths being exposed. The first thing I thought about was Richard III. I mean, he's been dug up in a car park in Leicester. Richard III was a king who's been recorded in history as being a terrible person for killing his nephews in the Tower, and for being a hunchback and for being all sorts of awful things. He probably did actually cause the nephews in the Tower to be disposed of. But we've got to understand that in those days, you know, you probably had to do that sort of thing, because probably otherwise you'd always be looking over your shoulder that the relatives of those nephews would come and get you. I'm not saying that it's a good thing, obviously, to kill your nephews in the Tower. But anyway, he's been much maligned, and he was killed at the Battle of Bosworth and thrown into a pit. Anyway, he was dug up very flukily at the end of last year, and it's this week on Monday that scientists confirmed that it was actually Richard III, because they've done DNA testings from his living relatives and done all sorts of other testing, carbon dating, the whole shebang, and this chap that they dug up did have a curved spine. But what was most bizarre was I watched this programme on Channel 4, a documentary they did about the digging up of Richard III, and this woman who'd sort of been guided, if you like, to find him. And it was bizarre because you could really see that she was in touch with the spirit of Richard III, how overcome with emotion she was when they first found this body. The first place they dug in this car park was such a long shot, and it was buried underneath where there was a letter R printed on the top, on the concrete. Bizarre. It was R for reserved, but really strange. You could see the emotion. And when they actually at the end of the programme showed her a wax model that had been created from the face, from the you know, the 3D CAD sort of drawings of his skull, you could see the absolute pure sort of devotion and love on her face. Just gazing at him for the first time, it's like, yes, it was truly remarkable. So, you know, if you get the chance to type in to 4OD and watch that programme, it was called The King in the Car Park. So the point is, it's been exposed all these years, and he was just thrown into a grave. Horrible death. And he was an important king, you know, because after him came all the Henrys, and this line that's led us to the crew that we've got in still. Henry VIII, who wasn't long after that, obviously, I mean, he went around destroying all the monasteries, you know, which were fine halls of learning, and a lot of ancient stuff was in these monasteries. So that was the first lie that's been come out. And if you watch this programme, you can see it was a real meant-to-be-found thing. Then, on a minor note, I found this in the paper today. It says, at last, the truth, butter is good for you and margarine is chemical gunk. Well, how many years have we been told that margarine is better for you? I mean, it's just awful. It really is, and we have all this propaganda about, you know, flora's good for the heart and all this. It's been going on for years. It says here, that is why the latest news from scientists working in the US will have been greeted with loud cheers at breakfast tables. That's because they're not eating margarine anymore. And I told you so. For having reanalysed a study originally carried out in the late 60s and early 70s, the scientists have confirmed what many of us have believed to be the truth for years. Margarine isn't better for you than butter. In fact, margarine is actually more damaging to your health than butter. The scientific evidence is compelling and totally at odds with decades of official advice that we should all be cutting down on our consumption of animal fats. Anyway, that's a big article. But I mean, you know, with Benicol is the name of these beneficial blooming margarines, and Flora. So that's an article, I'll find it online. Put it underneath this video, and a link to the Richard III ones. And the other thing is, Chris Huhne, who's just a politician here, he's been denying for years that he forced his wife to take his penalty points so he didn't get banned for speeding. Denied it for years. It's come out now. He's one of the only 3 MPs of, I don't know, some Privy Council or something, ever to have been disgraced like this. It's a big disgrace. It's a big eye-opener. I think it's a week of eye-openings. And also we've had another thing about the chief of the NHS, you know, who's just been exposed for loads and loads of more sort of dodgy dealings. So I think it's a week of the truth coming out. The lies we've been told about Richard III, well, I don't know about him, obviously, but the lies we've been told about margarine, and we've all believed them. I've bought them in the past. I've bought margarine in the past, thinking it was better for you than butter and all this. So that's all I wanted to say, really. Is it the case that it's kind of a time of lots of long-held mistruths being debunked and coming out in the open for what they're worth? So yes, just want to do a little video about that, and I'll put all relevant information underneath this video. Thanks then, bye.